Okay, this is the Films Under Constant Critique podcast. In this episode, we'll be covering the first three Alien films. Yeah, at some point, we'll get to the other more atrocious ones, but for now, this will do. A few things about this episode. One, there are tons of spoilers in this, so if you don't like spoilers, you probably don't want to watch this. Second, there's a shit ton of foul language in these podcasts, especially once we get to the later films in this series, so if you don't like that, then don't watch this. With those disclaimers aside, let's get to the films.
Films under constant critique.
Yeah, with
All right.
Maverick Drenzaria and
Servant of Athena.
we're talking about the Alien films.
Yep.
Which has had its
It's a mixed bag. You got two good
It has
ones and
its
then
peaks and valleys.
two horrid ones.
basically. But the first film was released in 1979, and it was just called Alien. Although the original title was actually Star Beast.
I like Alien a lot better than Star Beast.
Star Beast sounds like a Roger Corman film.
It does.
Which, to be fair, would still be pretty enjoyable, but we're talking about Alien. And it was directed by Ridley Scott. This is one of his first films. It wasn't his first film, it was like the first one that got him recognition.
Yeah, like I
You know,
don't even know if I know any of his films before Alien.
the Duelist, which I've never seen. But and you just look at that poster. I mean, that poster. You got
It's
the egg there. You got the green light glowing out of it. I can see it, and I'm not even looking at a picture of it. That's
yeah.
how iconic of a poster is. And that tagline, in space, no
Just
one
no one can hear you scream. It's honestly
Yes.
a pretty good tagline for the
One
movie.
of the most famous taglines ever. One of them, definitely. Like, it's been parodied like so many times. I don't even know where to start. Like, I don't even know where to start with this because it's regarded as one of the greatest science fiction films, one of the
I think
best horror films.
I think a good place to start would actually just be with the set design itself.
Oh
Because
yes,
it is
just from the opening. The opening, you see just all it is just a long shot of the inside of the ship, and that set design is amazing. Like,
it's absolutely phenomenal.
yeah, I don't know if it won best like art design and production stuff, but it should have.
And then
It definitely should have.
when they're on
And
the ship
something
later
I-
in the movie where, they find the alien eggs,
Yeah.
that set was also pretty awesome.
The lighting too, like you just see the lights in their like helmets and stuff, and they're just
Yeah.
exploring this weird thing. There's this weird like
Like the big chamber
Ale-
with the
the elephant looking thing.
the engineer.
It's like a big like elephant graveyard. Or
Yeah,
something,
it's such
it's
an
a
eerie
cool-
set, but it's so awesome.
And
at the same time.
another thing about this movie is I was about halfway, maybe less than halfway into this, and then I just suddenly thought, they're not actually in space. They're not actually on a ship, but the set and the atmosphere of it is so well done
Yeah.
that you believe for the whole movie that they are actually on this spaceship.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
And then I think second to the set design would probably be the creature designs for
Oh, yes,
all the
the
stages of the
HR
alien.
H.R. Geiger did a great job on the alien and the like. Just it is a like it's a cool design, but also just horrifying. Like it's such a like good design for
for
yeah.
like a
And
horror monster.
I love how they don't reveal it immediately. Like it's just kind of a slow build up where first you see its eggs, then you see its baby, then eventually it starts just growing and you see more and more bits of it until eventually it's this huge thing that's hunting after him and it could leap out at you at any second.
Have you ever seen H.R. Geiger's original artwork for the Alien?
I might be thinking of Predator, but I remember one of them had an alien that looked sort of insect-like. I think that was Predator, now that I think about it. But,
yeah, because looking at a lot of H.R. Geiger's works, it really feels like the idea of how the alien attacked people really came from some of these artworks.
Yeah, you know what's really funny is some of the other movies we did on this podcast have a connection to Alien because H.R. Geiger was apparently doing some art design in the early stages of the development of Batman, the 1989
Really?
film. And he designed a very bizarre-looking Batmobile.
That would have been interesting.
Yes.
Hold
It
on.
would have been very interesting.
I have to see this
I'm
Batmobile
looking-
design. Oh, that
I'm
looks
looking-
weird.
I'm looking at some of these.
That looks
some of
so
the-
weird.
Oh my gosh, some of these other designs are really cool too, though. But yeah, that another thing to mention: the music score by Jerry Goldsmith. It's a very eerie
Yeah, very.
score that adds one of his best scores.
What else has he done?
definitely. But another horror film he did was The Omen, which won him Academy Award. He also did the Rambo films, actually,
Huh.
the first three, and those have great scores. Just the cast.
The
I
cast
love the
did
cast.
a spectacular job
There's
throughout all
not-
of this.
There's not very many characters, but they're all very memorable, have distinct personalities.
Yeah.
For me, the standouts are definitely Sigourney Weaver as Ripley
Hmm.
and Ian Holm as Ash.
I was about to say Ash was the one that sticks out in my mind the most from this film.
Ash is, because usually I see lists of best movie villains. Ash is usually not on there. He is a great villain.
He is very often overlooked.
He's like if HAL 9000 had arms and legs,
Yeah.
basically. That's basically how, he's basically HAL 9000 in this. And Ian Holm is so, even when you, when you first see it, you can kind of tell,
That something's
a little
wrong.
off. Yeah, but it's done in a subtle way that still makes it surprising when you figure out, that he's actually an android that's trying to kill everyone.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, his primary objective was to, capture the alien.
Yeah.
The safety of the
He
crew
wants
came
to get
second.
Yeah, exactly. Again, a lot like HAL 9000.
Yeah.
And also John Hurt, of course. I
Yeah.
love John Hurt. He's one of my favorite actors. And his death scene is
It's phenomenal.
one of the best death scenes, not just in horror movies, but just in any movie.
It's
It's
a
been
really iconic death scene.
Yeah, it is. It's also imagine seeing that in the theater. You had no idea it was going to happen.
Well, apparently
they're just all eating dinner, and then this thing just
bursts out of him.
bursts out of him. Yeah, and it's really gross.
Well, apparently the some of the cast didn't know it either, so their reactions
didn't
were
know.
legitimate.
They did not know. Yeah, I heard that before. They did not know what was going to happen at all, and especially you could tell Veronica Cartwright from her expression. She especially did not expect that.
That scene, though, there's one thing that bothers me about that scene that keeps it from being absolutely perfect to me, and it's when the alien that just burst out just kind of speeds away at 100 miles an hour with a zoom sound effect over it. That point just seemed silly to me.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I thought the movie did a good job at because again, this was around the time not a lot of people took science fiction seriously.
Yeah.
So you would expect like this movie would be just some schlock that they put out, but you can tell there was a lot of care and effort put into the performances and the directing, the writing, and the special effects and set design. Those space shots still look really good.
They hold up
Like,
very well.
some of the best space effects, I would say, after 2001: A Space Odyssey.
A lot of the
And
effects
these films were made in the 60s and 70s,
Yeah.
and they still hold up pretty well.
a lot of the effects in this hold up better than effects in Alien 3 did.
Oh, definitely, yeah. Definitely better than Resurrection.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think the effects in this are better than in the second film, actually, because in the second film, you can see some blue screen
Yeah.
shots that didn't age well, but
A-
not to knock the second film's effects, because they were so great, but
See, something that I
Yes.
really liked about this is the whole movie, you didn't know who was going to be there in the end.
yeah.
It felt like
exactly.
everyone had an equal shot of
Actually-
being the final person alive.
Sigourney Weaver's not top billed.
Yeah.
Tom Skerritt was, who played Dallas.
Huh.
Which makes sense, because he's the ship's captain.
Yeah.
So people who first saw this, they thought he was going to be the last one, but apparently not. And it's interesting because most of the other death scenes besides Kane's death scene with the chest burster, they're kind of done off screen a bit.
Yeah, like you see the build up and then the camera cuts away.
Yeah, like you might see some blood and stuff, but
Yeah.
it's kind of,
It's never shown fully.
yeah. So which makes it you're wondering like, what is this thing even
Yeah.
doing to that at some points, because it has this huge long razor tail.
It has so many ways to kill you.
Yeah, it has so
It
many
has
ways.
it has
Yeah.
the acid
has
blood, the tail,
acid blood.
the second
acid
mouth
blood.
inside of its mouth.
Yeah. That acid blood, that's a very unique idea that I would not have come up with myself. Like, just, you can't even, shoot it.
Because then it's just
or
going
else
to eat
your
through the
will
ship.
just-
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's this. It definitely captures the isolation
Yeah.
of this whole situation, very, very well. Like, you believe that they are trapped. Like, it's gonna be very hard to get out of this.
And then another character that's also pretty overlooked throughout all this is Mother, the ship's computer.
Oh, the computer. Yeah, the computer. Yeah. Again, kind of like HAL 9000.
Yeah.
A little bit.
It's basically her put together with Ash makes
exactly.
the HAL 9000, basically, of this movie.
Exactly, yeah. I think she's the... Well... Because there was a guy in the alien suit. Like, they're the only characters you don't really see.
Yes.
Actors that played them, yeah.
Yeah.
One's a voiceover, the other's
In a big costume.
That was in a big costume. Which, that's another thing. Like, aside from, maybe one or two shots, I believe for most of it that this was an actual creature running around trying to get everybody.
Hmm. It really
And
is
that
a
scene
shame
where
that
just-
the alien
that
is
scene-
hidden so much
every-
because I really want to see more of it.
Every time it popped out, though, you're just, going, holy
Oh, yeah.
shit.
There's one part.
The part where Dallas is going through the, through the tunnel and it just
Yeah.
jumps out,
That part-
peekaboo.
That part always gets me. Doesn't matter how many times I watch it.
It's a really good
It
jump
always
scare,
spooks
yeah.
me.
Yeah. And that's another thing. I've seen the movie several times, but even though I've seen it several times, the suspense is still there,
It's
It
phenomenal.
still works. It still works. Even though it kind of takes its time, it's paced very well.
Mhm.
It gives you time to know who the characters are. It gives you time to, and just the more you reveal of the alien, you're just going, holy shit.
Hmm.
They're fucked. They're Oh man. And another thing, the design of the face hugger too.
Yeah,
I like the
that was
design of
done
that.
super well.
That thing just latches onto his face and like, just like
Actually, there
you
was
don't know. Yeah.
when the facehugger was being designed initially, it was going to have like a green color to it, like a light green color. But then,
Instead, it's like tan a little bit.
yeah, well now it's tan.
Yeah,
That's
it's
because that's
tan
how
in
it
the
started out, and they were
film.
about to color it. But then one of the people, I don't remember, it was either one of the higher up prop designers or it was somebody close to Ridley Scott. They saw the tan
Yeah.
version and thought that looked so much creepier than it would have if it was green. So then they ended
Yeah.
up using that, which I think was a
I
smart
think-
choice.
I do too. Yeah, I think it looked better tan. The first time you really get a look at the alien is when Brett gets killed off, Harry Dean Stanton's character.
Yeah.
And that reveal, it's like there's like water kind of sliding off of it, and you just see its face.
Mm-hmm.
It's a cool reveal. It's like a really, like.
I feel like, though, the rest of the series was a bit too influenced by that scene in one very bad way.
Oh, man.
When you see the alien, it's got the water dripping down on it.
Yeah.
And in, I think, parts of Alien 3, and then throughout all of Alien Resurrection, when you see the alien, it looks like they just have a waterfall going down the top of them.
Yeah.
It's
ridiculous.
Yeah.
You mentioned the uncooperative computer, like in 2001: Space Odyssey. Yet we also neglected to mention another very important character, Jonesy.
Oh, yeah, the cat.
The cat. I love the cat. Yeah.
With fake jump scares.
Yeah. I'm glad that at least that you see Jonesy a bit in the second film.
Yeah.
That'd be funny if they brought him back as like a regular character, had him and Ripley just fight the alien.
The next Alien prequel is all about Jonesy.
Oh man, I'd watch that. There's also, Parker. He's a good character.
Yeah, he is.
Yaphet Kotto. Yeah, he's like kind of the Joker on the ship a bit.
Yeah.
Him and Brett, they're like the engineers that kind of fool around a bit, and then Ripley's just telling him like to fuck off.
Yeah.
And stuff.
If I remember correctly, Parker was the one that knocked off Ash's head, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
That might be one of my favorite scenes in the movie, actually. When they've got Ash kind of disassembled and then his head on the table, and then they're talking to him about the creature.
And the inside of Ash looks so weird. Like it looks like
there's like
you got little
looks like
beads
just
and stuff and milk or something.
Yeah, like a weird like white fluid and then like guts everywhere. It really throws you off guard when like the first time you see it.
Yeah.
Because you're just expecting like wiring once you hear that he's a robot.
Yeah. And the scene where Ash is like trying to kill Ripley and his like plan is revealed, it's a very like intense scene.
Yeah, because he rolls up the magazine and tries to shove it down her throat, basically.
Basically, yeah. I also love how before they deactivate Ash, like the last thing he says to them is "You have my sympathies," and then he gives this like really creepy looking smile.
Oh yeah, that's such a good line.
There's other really good lines in here too, like Ash calling the facehugger a tough little son of a bitch.
Yeah.
The part where John Hurt's character Kane says, "I feel dead." And I think Parker says to him, "Anyone ever tell you you look dead?" Walk in the park.
Yeah.
Parker that said that, yeah. And it's anything but a walk in the park. Unless it's like a walk in, like, a park. like an amusement park that's locked down and there's something hunting after you, I guess. Or the line after when they, after Dallas gets killed and Parker like says, "No blood, no Dallas." Another thing, that there's like a hatch that Dallas goes through at one point.
Yeah.
It looks sort of like the James Bond gun barrel.
You're right about that, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that was just
think back to that scene.
It was a little detailed. I thought that was kind of funny. So, I think one of my favorite lines from Ripley, and this is, "We'll blow it the fuck out into space. Is that acceptable to you?" She just always has a line like that in these movies.
Well, she had to do that in this one at the end, eventually.
Yeah, and that's
to beat the thing.
It seems like every one of these movies, they just blow an alien out into space at the end.
I mean, I don't think they did that in the third one, but...
Oh, yeah. Okay, every one of them besides that one, they basically did that, I think they even did it in, like, some of the later ones, too.
I don't remember if they did it in Covenant.
They did. They did.
That's good.
You also got that cool-looking explosion at the end.
Yeah.
Blow up the ship. Yeah.
And just burn the alien to death, basically.
It's funny, when you think about it, this movie basically is like a 2-hour hide-and-seek game.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like, every once in a while, the alien just jumps out, catches someone. So I guess that means technically Ripley and Jonesy are the winners.
Yeah.
Round. So, and you watched the theatrical, right? You watched the theatrical cut?
Yeah, I've seen the theatrical cut, and I know parts of the director's cut.
The director's cut, I don't think I've seen it in full, but from what I remember, they didn't add much. There's it's actually shorter than the theatrical.
Really?
Believe it or not, yeah. But they did add one scene, and that was the scene I mentioned earlier with Ripley finding some eggs. Brett and Dallas are turned into eggs, and she torches them. And Dallas is saying "kill me" or something. I think. Because he's in so much agony.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm glad they cut that out. I'll be honest.
It does sound a little unnecessary to the story.
It messes up the I think it messes up the flow of the story a bit, and it takes away some of the mystery. Because what I like about this film is it's very mysterious.
Yeah, it's not very clear why the alien is going out and killing everybody on the ship.
Exactly, yeah. And you don't know, what that elephant skeleton thing was at the beginning.
Yeah.
You're just kind of dropped in, and,
no one really knew what that was, I think, until Prometheus came out.
Oh, God. You had to mention that. Fucking.
I still haven't seen that one, so I'm allowed to mention it.
Well, my thoughts on it now. I also love the really old computers they have.
Okay, that's actually one of my favorite parts about older sci-fi films. It's like what they thought. It's what they thought the future was going to look like, but they still have technology similar to what they had back then.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I love seeing all these big blocky computers with the mechanical keyboards. I love that.
You ever see War Games?
I have.
Oh my god!
That's what
I love that film. Matthew Broderick accidentally starts thermonuclear war. He thinks it's a computer game. Oh man. I think we can probably move on to the next film.
There's a few more things I wanted to mention.
Okay,
real quick about
fine.
this. All right, the first thing is just a little piece of trivia. It's about Harry Dean Stanton, the guy who played Brett.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Harry.
When he went to the audition, his what he told them was, "I don't like sci-fi or monster movies." And the people that were, they're doing the audition with him, convinced him that it would be a thriller like 10 Little Indians was.
Oh man, it kind of does have that vibe now that I think.
Yeah,
about
in
it.
some places.
A little bit. And then there were none. It kind of.
Yeah.
That's the same.
Yeah, it's the same. Yeah.
It's as.
Then the other thing, I do have one problem.
Ian
with the
Holm
movie.
kind of looks like the one guy from the film adaptation of it, and then there were none.
A little bit.
His name. I'm trying to remember his name. He was also in
Was it?
the Quiet Man. He was also in that film. I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember his name though. I'll look it up. But what were you gonna say?
There is one problem that I do have with the movie.
Okay.
I feel like it goes on for a bit too long at the end. Because for me, it kind of goes like, oh, they got off, they're getting away in the escape pod, but oh no, it's still there.
I don't know. I like the ending. I really like the ending.
I've grown kind of resentful towards that kind of plot twist where it's like, oh no, there's still more to do after I watched the movie Gravity.
I can kind of understand that now. I think, because you think it's dead, but then it comes back.
Yeah. Well, especially after I saw Gravity, I
think-
grew tired of that plot twist.
But I think I haven't seen Gravity.
Basically, the entire movie of Gravity is it could have been
Don't
over
spoil it.
within the past 20 minutes, but then they just create a new problem out of nowhere.
Okay.
So
But it's still the same problem, though.
Yeah,
It's still the same problem.
true. Yeah, I just felt like it might have gone on just a bit too long.
I mean, yeah, I can kind of understand that, But it seemed kind of... At the same time, I kind of like that they add that because when she's just running away from the self-destructing ship, you don't see much of the alien.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of better that they added the ending where you see her actually ejecting the alien from space,
Yeah. Because I can see why they did it. I just wish they would have found a way to combine escaping the ship and defeating it at the same time.
Yeah, that's fine. I think the movie, if I remember right, it won the Oscar for Best Visual Effects, but it was also nominated for Best Art Direction.
Huh.
So it did not win that one. I think it should have, but whatever.
I know a lot of the cast were nominated for BAFTA awards.
For BAFTAs, yeah, not for Oscars. The next film, we got a lot of Oscar nominations. It was nominated for 7. And Sigourney Weaver was even nominated, actually. And it won Best Visual Effects and Best Sound Effects Editing.
Cut the power. How could they cut the power, man? They're animals. There's movement all over the place. 5 meters, man. 4.
Aliens.
The next film was released 7 years later, kind of a long gap for a sequel. And it was directed by James Cameron, who was not a very, aside from Terminator.
Yeah, he didn't have a whole lot under his belt.
It's funny because I think his first directing job was Piranha 2, The Spawning.
That's pretty good.
Another well-regarded sequel.
And I think he also helped...
Do you know what that movie's about?
What?
Flying piranhas. I've heard it's really bad, but I've never seen it.
Yeah.
And I think he only directed part of it.
And then James Cameron, I think, also worked on Roger Corman films before this,
Galaxy
too.
of Terror.
Yes,
Galaxy of
exactly.
Terror. He did some of the set design, if I remember right.
So he kind of did knockoff Alien, and then
He did a
went
knockoff
to
of an
full-on
Alien.
Alien.
Yeah. This is actually my favorite James Cameron film.
Really?
Believe it or not. Yeah, this is my favorite one. As much as I like the first two Terminator films, this is my favorite. And it's also my favorite film of this series, I think.
I think I'd still put the first Alien above this, but this one is my second favorite.
It's one of my favorite science fiction films of all time, I would say. It's definitely a kind of a different tone than the first one.
A very different tone.
It's more of an action film. It kind of feels a bit like Full Metal Jacket, but then aliens show up.
Yeah. Unfortunately for me, the only movie that I've seen that I can compare this to is the first Resident Evil movie.
Oh, fuck's sake. I actually watched that recently.
Oh, you have?
It was fucking horrible. But it was so bad. I was gonna say it's kind of like Starship Troopers a bit.
Yeah,
a little bit, in that you got like this super military going after aliens, although definitely a different style and tone than this film, because Starship Troopers is more of like it's kind of a satire a bit.
Yeah.
Again, another great poster. You got Ripley, you got Newt, you got all those eggs.
Yeah.
And the tagline, this time it's war.
It's not as catchy as In Space No One Can Hear You Scream, but it's still pretty good tagline.
The first one had a better poster, I'll give it that. But and one thing I like about this is you have, Ripley's back.
Mm-hmm.
She's the only survivor of the ship besides Jonesy. And I like how at first the company just does not believe her story.
Yeah.
That all this happened,
Well, wasn't that a cover? Because they went and started the colony on the planet where Ripley landed on, or where the Nostromo went to.
Yeah.
In the first one,
Yeah.
And then they started trying to capture him.
Yeah. I thought what happened was they were colonizing it because they thought it was safe. They didn't know there were these things there.
See, I think that they knew just because of Ash in the last film.
Yeah.
So I think Ash told them about it. They gained interest, and so then they sent the colonizers there to either breed more of them or just to try to capture one.
Yeah. But the main point is, they basically they decide to have, we'll send Ripley along with these soldiers.
Yes.
To go to the colony because some crazy shit be going on there.
Yeah.
And then we're introduced to a bunch of new characters, including Hicks. Hicks, played by Michael Biehn. He was in some other James Cameron films.
Yeah.
Kyle Reese in The Terminator. And my personal favorite, Hudson, played by Bill Paxton.
Oh, yeah, Hudson.
I love
my
Hudson
favorite
so much. He's my favorite character in the film.
My favorite character in this film is probably Bishop.
Bishop's great, too. I love Lance Henriksen's performance as Bishop. And the thing I like about Bishop is, in the previous film, Ripley did not have a good experience with androids.
Yeah.
So she's very, very distrustful of Bishop at first.
Mm-hmm.
I love that cool thing he does with the knife, too, where he's like, the knife trick that he does on the table.
That's such a funny scene to
and
watch.
Hudson's
especially with how
reaction. Hudson's reaction is hilarious, too.
I like just how fast he did the knife trick with Hudson's hand.
They, I think they sped it up.
Yeah.
Fast forwarded a little bit. Hudson, we have to talk about Hudson. He's like, he's basically the comedy relief,
Yeah.
He's always joking around with people. I like the banter between him and Vasquez, Hey, Vasquez, ever been mistaken for a man? No. Have you? And when they're on the ship, they're about to like land, and he says, "On an express elevator to hell, going down." Great line. Great line. And of course, he's like, what I like about him is he's trying to be all tough and like cocky, and then when they actually like go
When they actually have to go up
things,
against-
he realizes they're in over their head.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like crying and stuff, That's just fucking great, man. Game over, man.
Game over! I'm not gonna last 17 hours, let alone 17 days.
Yeah. And when I love how Ripley, like, because they find Newt there. She's like a kid that like managed to survive there for quite a while, and she like says this girl managed to survive without any training, or protection for a while. And then he says, "Why don't you put her in charge?"
I think one of my favorite.
Another thing, I mentioned Starship Troopers. At one point, Hudson calls it a bug hunt. Which...
I think one of my favorite parts of this movie is when they're looking at the scanners to try to track where the alien's coming from.
Oh, yeah.
And then suddenly there's just more and more, than just hundreds of dots like all around them.
They realize they're like all above them.
Yeah.
Man. That's such a great scene, like the build up there.
Yeah.
Yeah. You also got, I guess the villain of this film is Burke.
Yeah.
Paul Reiser. He's like, he'll just sell anybody out if he'll just give him some money.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of mentioning another Paul Verhoeven movie.
Yeah.
Why? RoboCop. Dick Jones. Kind of like that character.
Yeah.
A little bit. Although if Ry Cox was in this film, that'd be amazing. But it's basically a military movie, but it has aliens in it,
Yeah.
which is great.
This reminds me
And
of.
it has a much faster pace than the first film.
Yeah, this reminds me a lot of the first, like the intro to the first Predator movie.
It is a lot like, it kind of is, Maybe that's where Predator got the idea.
Yeah.
Except instead they went, let's get all these like famous action stars and wrestlers, put them in one movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, get Arnold, get Apollo from the Rocky films, get a Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah.
If they were gonna do an Alien and Predator crossover, they should have gotten those guys.
Yeah.
that
would have been very entertaining.
Yeah. You got another chest burster scene, which it's not as good as the one in the first film.
Just because
but,
you're kind of expecting it by that point.
Yeah. And it's a good thing they have flamethrowers.
Yeah. And then this
and
film
Newt,
is when...
Newt is another interesting character. She's just this girl.
Yeah, just a young girl there.
Yeah, it's kind of trapped there, yeah. Yeah. And had to survive on her own.
Yeah.
And I really like her chemistry with Sigourney Weaver, too. Like, one comparison I heard of this was like that Sigourney Weaver's kind of her mother figure a little bit, and Hicks is kind of the father figure. You just got all these Marines just trapped fighting tons of aliens. I love the part where Burke says, this installation has a substantial dollar value attached to it, and then Ripley just says, they can bill me. When she's like planning on just blowing it all up.
Definitely throughout the series, Ripley just cares less and less and less about the collateral damage she's causing.
She just gives no shits. Like, she's not taking anybody's bullshit. She's just gonna get in there and fucking kill them.
Yeah. And then this movie introduced the trend of having a different xenomorph in every Alien film to follow.
The Alien Queen.
Yep.
I love the design of the Alien Queen in this.
It's pretty awesome in both of its stages.
That climax is one of the most just badass, awesome climaxes. You got
Yeah.
all those eggs and stuff. You see the alien queen, and then Ripley's in a power lifter, the queen like has Newt, and then she says, "Get away from her, you bitch!"
And then they just fight like a fist fight, but one of them's in like a mech. It's awesome.
It is awesome too. Yeah, and the part where she's just shooting the queen's eggs and stuff.
Yeah,
the gun and the flamethrower, like something out of Rambo. One thing I was thinking about was, what if they made a movie where the aliens invaded Cloud City, and then Lando had to stop them?
I would watch that.
It would be the best movie ever made. I'm telling you, it'd be awesome. Get Billy D. Williams back.
I actually think in one of the Star Wars movies, you could see like a xenomorph, like something in the background.
Huh. I don't think I noticed that. Which one?
I'm trying to look into that right now. I think it was in one of the prequels, if you look in the back.
Huh.
Like in the background of one of the scenes that Palpatine is in. You can see what looks like a fossilized xenomorph in the wall. I'm trying to find it.
Revenge of the Sith, is that the one?
It might have been.
Apparently he was wrong here. He thought that one of the Star Wars movies had an alien reference in it, but it turns out this never happened.
We made it up. We made this one up. It's a made-up tale. It's a total fabrication. It never happened.
Also, another thing about this movie, Bill Paxton has the distinction of being killed by a Terminator, an alien, and a Predator.
That's a really impressive lineup.
He's killed in the first Terminator film. He's killed in this film, Aliens, and then he's killed in Predator 2. And what's awesome is his last lines always have the F-bomb in them. Like in Terminator, he says, "Fuck you, asshole." In this film, he says, like,
"Come on, you bastard! Come on, you too! Oh, you want some of that? Fuck you! Fuck you!"
And then in Predator 2, he says, "Come on, motherfucker, let's dance." Like, I fucking love Bill Paxton in these movies. It's great. Basically, this is just the first film, more guns, more aliens. James Horner did the score for this film, and it's a pretty good score.
It is a pretty good one, too.
What was that?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Are you there?
Uh-oh.
Hello?
So, yeah, we're experiencing some technical difficulties. While Nick is getting that sorted out, I think we'll cut to some overpaid product placement that may or may not be there. See you in however long that is.
In 1992, we will discover on Earth, everyone can hear you scream.
What the hell happened?
I am back.
That was weird.
Alright, I couldn't see your message.
That's weird.
Yeah, it just booted me out of Discord.
Okay, on that note, let's move on to... Oh, fuck. Oh, man. I have a feeling you're not gonna be very nice to this one.
Alien 3.
Also known as Alien Cubed, or Alien to the Third Power. The tagline was, well, one of them, 3 times the terror. It was directed by David Fincher. This was his first theatrical film. Because before that, he was doing music videos. He did Michael Jackson, I think. He did videos. And I think he did Madonna. He might have done Like a Prayer, now that I think of that, but I'm not sure.
That's an interesting filmography history.
And he was not very experienced in making feature films.
Yeah.
He later disowned this film, by the way.
Yeah, no, I knew about that.
Because he felt it did not represent his vision, and the studio took too much control over it. And it had a very notoriously difficult production. it was rewritten like tons of times.
Yeah.
Many different directors attached to it, many different writers. Rennie Harlan was considered to direct it, and he directed Die Hard 2.
Huh.
Die Harder. And I haven't read most of the alternate scripts, but from what I've heard, there were at least 2 or 3 that would have been better than what they ended up with.
Yeah, this was a mistake.
Okay, so
I'm going to start with some of the good things.
there are 2 cuts of this.
Yeah.
There's the theatrical cut, which is about an hour 50-something minutes, and then the assembly cut, which is 2.5 hours. It's not called the director's cut because David Fincher wanted no involvement with it.
I've seen both versions.
I feel so bad for David Fincher, to be honest, like, because he was a huge fan of the franchise.
Yeah.
And he wanted to make a good movie, but this 20th century fuckface was not letting it. They just weren't letting it. And the result is a mess. I'll be honest. I think it's a mess. But,
it's horrible.
Now, I'm probably going to be a little nicer on this film than he is, because I used to defend the film. I'll be honest. Like, the first time I saw it, I didn't mind it. I thought it was okay, middle of the road. But rewatching it, oh man, I'm gonna start.
I'm gonna start with the positives on this film, which are very few. Once again, I think the set design is actually top notch in this film.
Yeah,
I loved the look of it because it brought back kind of like the hallways of the Nostromo, but then it made it all like built out of like this old like big bricks, so that it felt like an old prison that was styled like architecture in the Alien universe. I loved the set design in this.
It was good set design. One thing that's funny, I should mention this. The original teaser trailer at the end, the trailer, it shows like the egg, kind of like the poster of the first film.
Yeah.
And it says Alien 3, and then it says on this, I think it said something like, this summer on Earth everyone can hear you scream. And it shows you how many times they rewrote the film.
Yeah.
Just because they're not on Earth, they're on a prison planet.
Yeah.
And some of my positives, I like Charles Dance in the film. He played the doctor, Dr. Clemens.
He was one of the good characters.
He was one of the only characters to me that was interesting and actually kind of likable. And Charles Dance is a really good actor.
Mm-hmm. Paul
McGann was kind of interesting. He played he was that crazy guy that was obsessed with the alien. In the assembly cut, he has a lot more screen time.
He did have a lot of screen time in that one.
They gave him a lot more to do. There was like an entire subplot involving him that was removed from the original cut that they reinstated. And it adds a lot more character development. I also like, this is kind of a minor point, but there's this one part where this guy gets dragged up into the ceiling and killed, and there's this one guy looking at the carnage going on, and he just says, "Fuck!" And just the way he says it and his face is just priceless. It's hilarious. And there's a few scenes I like.
Yeah.
The fan death scene was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Also gory, but interesting. I like the idea. I like the idea of the alien taking on traits.
I love that idea.
That it like bursts out, but it makes no sense in the assembly cut because it bursts out an ox instead of a dog, but it still looks like a dog.
Yeah.
And the acting is actually really good. The acting is really good.
And I like a lot of the interactions between like the prisoners and Dylan.
The acting is one of the better parts of the film. But the problem with the film, I think the writing sucks.
Yeah, the writing is horrible.
The setting and the characters just okay, having it be on a prison planet could have been more interesting if you had different characters. But the problem is most of the characters are not very likable or distinguishable from each other.
Exactly.
They look the same, and also it's hard to sympathize with murderers, rapists, child molesters, and that's most of the characters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's,
So
I
it makes
really
it
couldn't
hard-
distinguish anyone
And,
except
that's-
for
aside
like
from
Ripley.
A few actors, aside
Yeah.
from a few actors I recognize from other films, Pete Postlethwaite, he's in the film, but he gets nothing to do, which pisses me off because he's a good actor. Lance Henriksen's back
Yeah.
as
The guy who made Bishop.
and the head of Bishop at one point.
Yeah.
That was something that kind of confuses people because they're not sure. Like, okay, so he created an android that looked exactly like him.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess.
super narcissistic.
Yeah. And another thing worth pointing out, Lance Henriksen does not like the film.
Yeah, it doesn't
Actually,
surprise me.
he called it too nihilistic, and and what's interesting is Aliens is actually one of his favorite movies.
Yeah.
Not just that he was in, but just of all time. So he I think part of it is he just has so much respect for that film that he doesn't like the direction they went with this.
I have a very similar thought to that.
Right from the beginning, Hicks and Newt, they're just killed off.
Yep.
Very unceremoniously. It's like they just wanted to make people angry or something.
'Cause
It's a huge low blow to people who loved Aliens.
Yeah.
Because you wanted to see those characters survive, and then you're not even done with the opening credits, and already they're dead.
My biggest problem with the movie was how depressing it was, like right from the get-go.
I wouldn't mind a more depressing tone if it was done well.
Yeah, it's just being depressing for the sake of being depressing, though.
It's not done well. It's like just right from the get-go, like Ripley meets the prisoners, and that's another thing. Why does Ripley have to stay on this planet? Why
Yeah.
can't they just move her somewhere else? Especially considering some of the prisoners tried raping her, at one
Yeah.
point. And clearly this is not a safe environment for her to be in. You'd think they would show a bit more respect
Yeah.
for her. And then she's like in the dining hall. She goes up to Dylan, and he says, "You don't want to know me, lady. I'm a murderer and a rapist of women." And I'm just
That's
okay,
all. That's
one,
another thing.
One, that's a poorly written line.
Yeah.
Two, what a way to introduce yourself.
Well, not only that, but every time he appears after this, it's a complete 180 from that line. He's the one that shows her the most respect out of anyone there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess he's upfront about what he did.
I
but
guess.
Still. It's just... And there's, religious themes in it. They're all part of this, sort of religious practice that they came up with in jail, I think, if I remember right. Which is explored a little bit more in the assembly cut.
It is. It's like a combination of Christian fundamentalism, they said, and a couple of other things.
Which they don't really explain it much.
Nope. And what I don't like about that is basically every single one of the Alien movies made after this focuses on religion in some way. And it doesn't make too much sense. It's when I go see an Alien movie, I don't want to be stuck in deep philosophical thought of...
Yeah.
It's just out of place.
I'd be fine if the themes were handled well.
Yeah.
Because I'm fine with deep themes in a movie. If the characters are interesting, if the story's good, if the script is interesting, but it's not. It's a very boring movie. It's not well paced. The characters, like you mentioned, they're not very distinguishable aside from Clemens, Dillon and Ripley.
Yeah. Then the effects are total garbage most
That's
of the time.
another thing. Like, and what's weird is they used a puppet for the alien, but they blue screened it.
Yeah. And it looks so fake.
It looks really bad. Yeah, there's like a few, like, it's when it's that little dog thing that's running around. That's when it looks really bad. Because the guy in the suit alien looks pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
There's a cool shot that's shown in like all the trailers and like marketing for the film where it shows the alien right up next to Ripley, which is a cool shot.
That's like the only shot from this that sticks out to me, though.
Yeah.
That and then Ripley sacrificing herself at the very end.
That was one of the things I thought was actually good. Was the ending? I actually do like it. It's actually a pretty memorable, cool ending.
And it's a pretty good way to sum up the trilogy at that point, I feel.
At that point, yeah, before they fucked it up.
They're like, let's resurrect her in 200 years. That makes sense.
Don't even get me started on the next one, or I'm gonna be in a lousy mood the rest of the day.
I still don't even know like how they got her DNA. She jumped into the furnace.
One explanation I heard was that it was DNA that they had been storing, that they had got from her before she went on the first mission in the first Alien film. But I think that's kind of a cop-out. Most of the death scenes in this, I mean, the fan thing was fine. The guy getting pulled into the ceiling and then the other guy shouting, "Fuck!"
Yeah.
Kind of funny.
All in all, I
think part of it was just I didn't care for any of the characters.
Exactly.
And that's why the deaths didn't do much for me. I do like the part where they dumped the, melted lead on top of the alien at that one point, though. That was kind of cool.
Yeah. That part was kind of cool.
Even the music score, I didn't care for the music score. The music score was done by
generic.
Elliot Goldenthal, who did some other movies that we did podcasts on, Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and it didn't work for me. It didn't work for me. One thing I did find kind of interesting, though, I mentioned Golic, played by Paul McGann. He calls the alien like a dragon.
Yeah.
You know, and she's like, and Ripley asks her to tell her about it, and I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But overall, it was just a mess. Very forgettable, aside from 2 or 3 points. Not worth watching.
Yeah. Oh, also, you gotta love those
explosions.
Yeah.
There's just so many long, drawn-out scenes of just nothing happening. Just people sitting around talking. Just 2 hours of this. Remember, this is a 2-hour movie.
2.5 if you watch the assembly cut.
Yeah, and the assembly cut, barely improves it.
It really doesn't.
There was one note I wrote. It's this point where I'm realizing that nothing is going on.
Yeah. It was an hour into the movie.
Not even Sigourney Weaver could really save this.
No.
She's fine in the film, but, and I guess they solve her character arc a bit, but other than that, none of the other characters have much of an arc in this.
Nope.
But there was one cool line, though, that I liked, where Ripley says, "You've been in my life so long, I don't remember anything else." And I think that's kind of what they were going for. This was just that the alien, just no matter where she turns, where she goes, this alien's just destroying her life.
Yep.
Very dark tone. There's also just, oh my gosh, so much of this movie, just characters yelling and shouting, and there was just a point where I was just like, oh, just shut up.
Yeah, it's too loud.
Yeah. I think almost every variation of fuck is used in this movie at least once.
I really want to know the
close.
rate that they use that word, because it
I
feels
don't
like
know.
it was said at least once every 5 minutes.
Yeah. It was one thing that I found kind of confusing. The alien, it keeps changing look and size.
It
throughout the
does.
movie, and,
It's inconsistent.
Which definitely tells, the troubled production they were going with. It, they couldn't keep that right,
Yeah.
But I don't blame David Fincher for the film. I don't blame him.
It sounds like there was a lot of involvement from the studio.
Because for one thing, he disowned the film. He didn't have much control. They wouldn't even let him shoot certain scenes. They locked him out of the studio and wouldn't let him shoot certain scenes.
Wow.
And then he just snuck into the studio anyway and just filmed them. And I don't even think he was involved in the editing process either.
Huh.
But yeah. I don't think we have time for the next one, but yeah. You can probably already guess my thoughts about the next film are, but
Man, then I have some things to say about the next one when we get to that.
But Alien 3 was, at that point,
Disappointing.
what people thought was disappointing. Yeah, it was disappointing. It was not a good follow-up to Aliens. It was not, even looking at it as a separate film, because I tried to give it a fair chance. I tried to look at it as its own film. But honestly, as its own film, it doesn't work either.
Nope.
It really doesn't. I like some of the ideas they went for, but the execution was just terrible.
Yeah.
It was not well thought out. But, there's some people that like it, and that's fine.
It's just I'll never agree with them.
Yeah. And I'll be honest, there was a point where I did like it. I'm trying to remember why though.
See, I went in. I really wanted to like this movie, and it just disappointed me.
I did too. Yeah, I was ready and willing to defend it actually. Going in, but then I rewatched it and I was just like,
it's a mess.
I can't find much to defend here. It's a mess. The script is not very good. The characters aren't very good. Even the effects aren't very good. It's just... man. It's not the worst film of the series, though. I'll give it that.
Yeah.
It's not the worst film of the series, but
it's pretty bad.
There are several others that I think are worse.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll get to those at some point.
All right,
But
I think that's...
I would like at some point to read some of the alternate scripts, though, because apparently one of them was... There was one that Ripley was barely in, because they were planning on having her be in a coma for most of the movie, and Hicks and Bishop, I think, were supposed to be the main characters.
That would have been interesting.
And then there was one script I heard about where... oh my fucking god. I think it was Eric Red's script.
Yeah.
He wrote Pitch Black, the Vin Diesel film.
Yeah.
Oh my... Wait till you hear about this. One thing that was supposed to happen in it was that in this, the alien could impregnate, machinery. So the ship gets turned into an alien. This is a giant alien.
That would have been stupid, but I would have loved it.
Oh, man. I'm trying to remember what some of the other script ideas were for it. Some of the... I know that they tried to get several writers to work on the script. There were a ton of writers they tried to get for the film.
Yeah.
like a ton of them. And I don't even think they had a finished script when they started filming.
That's not a good
shows.
sign, yeah.
How do you even have a movie if you don't have a script? Unless
Yeah.
you're some improv artist
Yeah.
like Robin Williams.
But I don't think improv and Alien go
Okay.
very well together.
Would Robin Williams improve this film?
100%.
Just the genie shows up just out of nowhere
Uh,
and like fights the alien, does impressions.
uh,
If that happened, that'd be the best of the series. Here out of nowhere it is. But yeah, and what's surprising, the script was written and revised by Walter Hill and David Giler, who worked on the previous two films.
really?
And I can't believe it ended up this, like, gosh. I mean, I guess Walter Hill, he produced the first film.
Yeah.
But yeah, this basically, like, this kind of derailed the series. It, like, this was the point
Yeah.
people realized, like, oh no.
Because then the next one was bad.
Because the first two films were science fiction monuments, basically.
Yeah.
And
The third one was a mess. The fourth one was horrible.
I think it's worse than horrible, but we'll get to that. The nicest thing I can say about the next film is it's fucking terrible, but and that's being too polite. But and you haven't seen you've seen Alien vs Predator, right? The first one.
Yeah, I've seen the first one.
Okay. You haven't seen Requiem.
I haven't seen Requiem yet.
Have you seen, and you haven't seen Prometheus?
Nope, I haven't seen Prometheus.
I think you said you saw Covenant, right?
Yeah, I saw Covenant in theaters, actually.
Oh, really?
I thought I'll get to
We'll
that
get
later.
We'll get to that. But yeah, that's basically the end of this one.
Yeah.
The Alien trilogy, or was a trilogy.
Really
until-
strong start. Pretty good,
Yeah.
great middle. And then a horrible ending to the trilogy.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I guess that's it for this time then.
Yep.